Hello guys, my name is Ademola Badmos and welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time, please do not forget to like and subscribe and also hit the notification bell as I will be dropping more videos on web automation and later on API automation and as well as mobile automation, God willing. If this is your first time of joining, please be taking a new topic and I would advise you look at the previous video on Java and Selenium. We will be talking about Java and Selenium with Cucumber in this series, but there had been a series done earlier about Java and Selenium. It is important that you check out that video and learn with the video first, so it will be easier for you to learn using Cucumber. Not that you will not be able to learn it, but it will be easier because there are some topics that I earlier discussed there in the previous videos that I would not discuss here. Stuff like setting up a WebDriver on your machine, whether it is Windows or Mac, setting up Java on your machine, whether it is Windows or Mac. Those are very important topics to really consider, and also the Java syntax generally, how to write it in the proper Java syntax. I will not be discussing that in this video because I discussed it previously, so please watch the previous video. So let's talk about Cucumber. We've earlier talked about Java and Selenium. We know how it works, so let's talk about Cucumber. So what does Cucumber bring to the table? Cucumber, as it is, helps to achieve a concept called BDD, that is behavior-driven development. Now, what does behavior-driven development basically mean? In a layman's term and in the practical sense of things, BDD basically means that you would have a situation where you can write your test cases before you can begin to implement your test step definition. Unlike in the other video that we've shown you how to do TDD, where you basically just understand the code after testing manually and begin to write the codes. In this case, you have a form of guide principle, sort of. You write the test case in an English language syntax called gherkin. You write it in an English language syntax called gherkin, and it has a syntax like given, when, and then. We would explain that in further videos down the line, but that's basically what this is about. So how come this comes into play, and what are the benefits of BDD? The benefits of BDD, I made a very small presentation about that. The benefits of BDD, let me see. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so let's get back to it. Yeah, so the benefits of BDD. In my own experience, this is not like sort of a researched thing. This is what I have experienced while using BDD. It is very inclusive. It brings better collaboration. The test cases are separated from test codes, but they are connected in a single suite. Everything together. It is like a source of guide. It's easier. You can experience easier script review, and it is highly reusable. It is easy to onboard people and easier to maintain over time. Now let me explain a bit about all of this. It is highly inclusive in the sense that all the non-technical people can understand what is going on in the area of automation because of the gherkin readable syntaxes. They can see the test cases beforehand. They understand what is going on even when it is there, and they might not necessarily know what code implements it, but they already know the test cases being covered. So that then on the second part, it brings better collaboration. It can help other people in the team understand what you're doing and probably give you better insights on what to cover and what not to cover. So if you've written your test case scenario, probably let's say on a login feature, and all you covered is simple valid login and invalid login, and you've not covered things about data validation, if you actually put the right value, if the fields would accept those values. With your test cases already written, when you share it with people, it is easier for them to look at it and help you make contributions. That why don't you do some data field validations and see that those fields accept the correct inputs. Now, test cases, as you know, will now be separated from the codes because the way Cucumber is structured is such that you have these test files, this Gherkin syntax is written in a feature file. The file extension is a feature. So by default, it means that you are testing a feature. So these feature files are written in English, but the codes that implement them are somewhere else in the old test suite, and that makes it awesome. So it means that it's very easy to maintain, in the sense that, oh, I'm already jumping points. It will be easier to trace your steps because you can click on a step and move to its step definition and see how the step was implemented. Then it becomes a source of guide. In some companies, they actually allow testers to write their Gherkin test cases first, create all these test scenarios around the features that is being planned to build, and they use that as a simple source of guide. They use it to form the concept of their own developments. And in other cases, it becomes a way to easily document your 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 test cases. So in some places, this eliminates the use of other test documentation tools like an Excel sheet. You don't need to be keeping an Excel sheet and be keeping all your test cases there anymore, because you've been able to write almost in fact everything that you've done in your test steps on your test cases. You've been able to replicate it on these BDD feature files, so which makes it easier to work with. And from then, there are other tools that you can incorporate that can actually take all these steps that you've written and help you document it better. Like a Cucumber Studio, you can actually do something like that with it. Then the easier script review, yes, like I said, it will be easier to trace your steps, because you can read the English, you can easily move from one step to its respective step implementation and see what is going on. Then it is highly reusable, way more than TDD. It is highly reusable. It is highly reusable in the sense that you can reuse a step. Let's say you click a lot, you understand, you can write just one step to click everything, while you have all that steps defined, all that steps written out in your Gherkin syntaxes. When we begin the practical aspect of things, this will make more sense to you. Then it is easy to onboard. It is easy to onboard because I told you that these benefits are based on my own personal experience with it. So I find it easier to join a team that is working with BDD, and this is why. Because in trying to understand the application, most times when I get to companies, this is one of the shockers you experience as QAs. You will get to companies and they will tell you they don't have a proper documentation, or the documentation they have is outdated, so there is nothing for you to work with to understand the application. The BDD scripts, the BDD Gherkin syntaxes, the feature files forms a bedrock for you, a bedrock of guide for you, because you can just read the steps, replicate those steps manually, begin to understand the system, introduce yourself to it. Check all the validations that has been written while in the steps too, and see that they match. So it makes more sense, because those test scripts are usually maintained all the time to be up to date with the application. So it is very easy to onboard. Then over time, it is easier to maintain. So whether you have staff leaving your company or not, because you already have a structure of writing your test cases, people that come can easily maintain it because it is easily understandable. And when you are also implementing page object in it, it is easier to trace elements. It is easier to trace web locators and selectors and all the steps defined in the step definitions for the steps defined in the feature file, so to speak. So these and many more, there are quite a number of benefits of BDD, but that's not to say that it doesn't have its own drawback. So it does have its own drawback as well, because most times people struggle with when there are a lot of API handshakes between steps. So the wait time cannot be easily calculated for some people, but there is always a way around that. So, and among many other disadvantages, because everything that has a good side also has a bad side. So with that being said, I think that brings us to the end of the first video of this series. Thank you once again for getting this far with me. And in the next video, we will be looking at how we can set up the BDD environment. Unlike the previous videos, we'll just get to the setup of the environment by using the Maven approach, by getting dependencies on the Maven repository, and also installing some plugins in the for the IDE to be able to work properly. Thank you once again for getting this far. Please do not forget to like and subscribe.